Hi, this is Tom the Wit from TDW and Mindsoul and Layered Reality Productions and a lot of other things, and you're watching Live Prog.
Yes! Finally! I am back in front of the camera doing a review. For 2 weeks I had no opportunity to put on the camera, sit here, do a video, do a review, share some music with you guys. But finally the moment is there. I am back. And just in case you're wondering, who are you? Why am I watching this video? Well, you are watching this video because you are watching Live Prog. My name is Marcel Haster, I'm your host here. And you are here because of my review of the brand new Voyager album, V or 5. We'll get into the title details in a moment, but first we are at the cover and we have the rear and we have a very shiny CD, which is probably upside down in it. And we have the rear with the tracks and everything. And of course the inside as well. It's a bit of a minimalistic approach, but well, I like it. You know, it's functional and it does the trick, so no comments from me on that. I mean, I don't have any problems with that nice artwork of the band. But before I go into the album and why I'm enthusiastic to bring you this review, I'd like to go back in time. I'd like to do that, reminisce. Go back about 10 years. When I just had started doing my reviews, I had an opportunity to review, let me get it, this album, Element V, the debut album of Voyager. And back then they made a big impression with this album because a lot of people were really enthusiastic about it. I was very impressed by this album, although it took me a while to really get into this because it sounded different than from what I heard before. But as I said, I was a starting reviewer and I didn't like grunge back then, so that was one of the things I said about this album, that I didn't like that much. But well, things have changed, we're 10 years on, and you know, my taste in music has advanced and so has the band. Another thing is very nice. This is not the only link that this band has with Netherlands. Well, me being reviewing this album, because right here you see DVS Records. That was a Dutch label that released this album. That label was founded by the guy who is also the man behind Prog Power Europe Festival, which is of course known throughout the world. A lot of bands have played there, including Voyager. Well, back then he had a label, and well, that was the reason why I had an opportunity to review this, and I still like it. I mean, I looked up my old review and I gave the album 5 out of 5. So what will I give this one? Well, we'll have to wait until the end. I don't do grades, but in this case I'll make an exception. I'm gonna grade this one. Okay, so we have a brand new album. An album that took the band a lot of hard work, and a lot of hard work they did on their own. Because the previous albums have been released through labels. I have to make a small confession that after that first album I kind of lost track of the band, but we're back. But this album was released by the band themselves. They are now an independent band creating their music and bringing it out into the world, which is, well, very impressive. And they had a Kickstarter campaign where they said that fans could be a part of this journey, of this album, and they used the catchphrase, "I am Voyager." Well, I missed out on the Kickstarter thing because that ended in January, and I only picked up on this album a few weeks, months ago. But I still think I can say I am Voyager because I am fully supporting this album because I love it very much. Of course, I had some idea of the sound of the band in mind. I read the press release and everything, but the first things I heard of the album were the first 2 tracks, which are incidentally also tracks you can find on YouTube. You can check them out, you can listen to them. The first track, Hyperventilating, and the second track, Breaking Down. When I heard these 2 tracks, it's like, wow, this is amazing, because it is heavy, but at the same time it is so catchy, and these songs are stuck in your head and you start to sing along with them and you keep on listening to them. I mean, every time I put in this album, I don't stop until the album is finished, you know, I keep on listening to it, and these first 2 tracks are so incredibly catchy, they're so fantastic. They really get stuck in your brain, and the chorus, and that brings out, well, there's so much I can say about that, but a couple of things that I really need to mention, especially in hyperventilating. If you listen to the guitars there, oh my god, they are so tasty, so fantastic. But again, you know, they bring in a nice crunch, a nice heavy rhythm, and at the same time, it almost sounds very poppy. But that is a bit what this band is all about, and that's the sound they created, and that makes them Voyager. That makes them stand out. If you listen to a track of Voyager but you don't know what, you'll probably be able to say, that is a Voyager track, just because of the sound this band has, and I think that is fantastic. But the album has lots more. Oh, wait a minute, I'm forgetting something. I mean, I mentioned the guitars, but I need to mention a little bit more. I need to mention the amazing rhythm section. The drums are fantastic. The bass, there are a couple of tracks on this album that have this really funky bass in it. That stands out and it really touches you. I love that very much. But one of the most important things that I noticed on this album, and especially in these first tracks, but throughout the album, is Daniel Estrin. The singer and keyboard player, although he plays guitar and no, not just keyboard, so there's a subtle difference, I think. Also in the kind of sounds that a guitar creates, opposed to, you know, having a huge rack of other synthesizers, and that again might contribute to that unique sound that Voyager brings. But also the vocals of Daniel Estrin are they are one of a kind, and I really enjoy them very much. I think he's an amazing singer, and he is an ear catcher when you listen to him. And again, it is a bit of a matter of personal taste, but well, I gotta say, you know, from the moment I heard him sing, it's like, wow, this is fantastic. And on their Facebook page, they make a reference to Morten Harket from a-ha. In the press sheet, they mention Simon Le Bon from Duran Duran. Yes, somewhere in the middle. And then, you know, those are really 80s pop bands, synth pop bands, and then mix that with progressive metal. I mean, just put a-ha, Duran Duran and Dream Theater in a blender, well, you might get something like this. So, that is what this album is all about, but it is not just those two tracks. I mean, I enjoyed this album from start to finish. Throughout the album, the first two tracks are really super catchy, but after that, they change a little bit. I mean, and that is good. I mean, you don't want an album with just the same kind of songs. I mean, even Hyperventilating and Breaking Down are different from each other, but they are both, well, I would say they stand out in catchiness, poppiness and everything. But the third track, A Beautiful Mistake, is very close to that, and that has also something that is really cool, because there they have a guest singer, a female guest singer. I'm not gonna butcher her name because it's a little bit difficult, but you can see the name right there. That's the guest singer on that album, and she does a fantastic job, and she really adds a little bit more to that song. Track number 7, Orpheus, stood out for me in a very positive way, because there we have a bit of grunts, and they are in the first album, and I don't know about the rest, but I kind of missed them, to be honest, and I was really happy that at least they have one song. They have a little bit of grunts in it, a little heavier track. He also sings in German a little bit. I mean, he is from German origin, so that also has a nice effect on the music. I usually am not a big fan of German vocals, but in this case, I gotta say it works really well, and it really again adds something nice to the track and to the whole sound of the album. The band is really fantastic. We have two guitar players in here. We have Simone Dow on guitars and we have Scott Kay. And then on the bass, and yes, I am cheating, I'm not ashamed of that, we have Alex Kenyon on bass and doing also some vocals, and we have Ashley Doodcourt, I hope I say that correct, I'm terrible with names, on the drums. So, an amazing band, and all of them, if you listen to the songs, how well they are composed, how well they are performed, the production is really good, but you know, that is also something that is mentioned in the press sheet. They have a sort of polished sound, but again, that is a part of the sound of Voyager, and that is again what sets them apart. From other bands. So in this case, I really like it. Normally I like a rougher edge on the songs, but in this case, that shouldn't be there. This should be polished because that's the way it sounds perfectly. But the later tracks, and especially the Morning Light, is really a more prog metal song. Also Seasons of Age, the last track of the album, there we have that really funky bass again. I really love that very much. And Summer Always Comes Again, the penultimate track, stands out because there we have just vocals and piano or keys. But a very beautiful song. And there are no filler tracks on the album, there are no epic tracks, but they don't need to be. I mean, there's one track that is about a minute, which is called Fortune Favors the Blind, but a very beautiful track with nice drums in it, nice bass in it. But even though it is just a minute, it is not a filler track. It is still a very beautiful track, even though it is very short. So altogether, wow! In this case, I am partially also impressed, but I'm mostly loving this album. I think it is a fantastic album. I'm really... I can't get enough of this one. I'm really, as I said, you know, when I start to listen to this album, I have to listen it all the way through. So, as I said, I don't normally grade, but in this case I'll make an exception and I'm gonna give this one a 5 out of 5. Again, a 10 out of 10, whatever you want to call it. But in liveprog terms, it basically means a liveprog must have. That is what I think of this album. I love it very much, and this is an amazing album, so that's what I have to say about it. Now, of course, you can have a different opinion. Well, my comment section on my YouTube channel is a good place to let me know what you think of this album. Do you think it's deserved that I give this a liveprog must have, a 5 out of 5, or do you have a different opinion? Let me know, and we'll see. That's it. Voyager V. I said I'd mention it, I almost forgot about it. V. Could be Voyager, because of the whole thing I Am Voyager, but it can also be 5, because this is the 5th album. Haven't I mentioned that? You have to start using notes for my reviews instead of doing everything on my head. I mean, I'm getting a little older and can't remember everything that well anymore. So yes, this is the 5th album of Voyager from Australia. Check them out. Thank you for watching, and I hope you will see me at a new review.